Hello and welcome to MFS and the Hub. I'm Ross the Boss. I'm here with Casey Vlad the Bone Scheinfeld, and we're here to talk to you about waiver wire football week number 15.
15.
Got it right for once. The whole year I get it wrong. I get it right today. It was a guess. I said it was either 15 or 16. But
You're
it's 15.
brilliant.
I'm
Don't
genius.
sell yourself
And
short.
there's 17 weeks of football. Is that correct?
There's 18 weeks now.
18 weeks. Got it. Wow, 18 weeks of football. Remember the good old days, Casey, when it was 16 weeks.
I know. I remember them, actually. You and I are pretty old, though, so that doesn't really count for most of our audience.
So, Case, we'll talk waiver wire, but we'll talk about little fantasy news, what's going on in the league. I mean, let's start with Josh Allen. I mean,
greatest fantasy quarterback performance of all time.
Let me get that quote down. Greatest fantasy.
Well, that's what they said. It was 3 rushing and 3 passing touchdowns.
It was incredible. That player has just incredible. I mean, the guy, and he still lost the game. It wasn't like he won. The Rams won that game, which is
it's hard to blame Josh Allen for that.
No, and he kind of showed his true colors. He was kind of yelling at his players. I don't know if you saw it, but he didn't look that great during the game, yelling at his players. And
I mean, how many times did they pan to Tom Brady screaming at his players on the sideline when they weren't doing their job? I just think,
throwing clipboards. You're right. Yeah,
you want the passion to be high. So,
let's talk Bengals Cowboys last night. My Bengals won cover.
Jamar Chase, man.
Jamar Chase, Casey. In all seriousness, who gets the number one nod? Who gets the number one nod in fantasy next year? Barkley or Chase? Who, if you have the number one pick, I never get the number one pick. I don't know why. I never get it. I have number 2s. I have number 3 and 4s, but never had the number one in about 2
I'm probably taking Saquon only because, not because I don't think Jamar Chase is worthy or the best wide receiver in football right now, but I think there are 3 or 4 wide receivers who in any given season could have just as good of a year as, or be in the conversation about having that kind of year. It's Saquon and then everybody else. I mean, Derrick Henry is amazing, but he doesn't catch the ball, and Saquon does both. And with Christian McCaffrey missing so much time, nobody's going to want to touch him early. So I think maybe Jahmyr Gibbs could do it. Gosh, I don't know. Like, he's the only true bell cow running back that's out there that does both things anymore.
It's pretty incredible the year Barkley's having. I didn't expect it. I don't think you did. I mean, I thought he was a top 10 guy, but not a number 1 guy.
The Giants certainly weren't expecting it.
No, I say it every week. The GM of the Giants should be fired immediately. Complete buffoon. But it's good. I think it's good for fantasy football. I mean, it's good to have different players instead of McCaffrey and Jefferson as the number 1 guys every year. I like seeing new blood like Barkley, who was never like a number 1 running back ever. And do you think it falls because he played for the Giants, or do you think it's the coaching for Philadelphia? What do you think it is? What do you think is happening? Why this sudden surgence of?
Well, I think he's healthy for the whole year, which is a big reason. He was hurt a lot with the Giants. I mean, the Giants' offensive line has been pretty atrocious every year for the last 5 years. So the Eagles have a much better offensive line. They have so many weapons on that offense. They can't just key on him. When he was a Giant, you weren't scared of Darius Slayton. You weren't scared of Sterling Shepard. You weren't scared of, Daniel Jones. You're scared of Jalen Hurts. You're scared of A.J. Brown. Even Calcaterra catches touchdowns when Goddard's on the IR.
Yeah.
Devonta Smith. So they're just everywhere on that team. And so Barkley he doesn't need a lot more room, but he gets a lot more room there, and you're seeing what he can do with it.
Yeah, I think people they're not talking about the Eagles much. They're talking about the Lions in the NFC.
Yeah, how good is that game this week? Lions and Bills this week.
That's going to be a classic. I mean, that's going to be a classic. It's in Detroit.
So weather's not his dome.
Yeah. So it should be good. I mean, I think Detroit plays a lot better at home than they do on the road. I see. But again, the bounce back game for the Bills, it's going to be a good game. Is that game on Monday or Sunday night, or is that just like
it's Sunday afternoon? Albert, good afternoon. It's lovely to see you as always here on.
So Casey, we had some injuries over the weekend. Derek Carr. Yeah, Derek Carr fractured his non-throwing hand. I think he's having surgery. He's done for the year.
Aiden O'Connell.
Adrian O'Connell, they helicopter him out of the stadium. He's done for the year. I don't even know who's the quarterback for the Raiders anymore.
It'll be Desmond Ritter, right? Isn't that?
Is that who it is? Desmond Ritter, the University of Cincinnati product.
There you go.
I know he came in, but did they officially say he's going to start again? That's.
Well, I don't know who else they have because
I don't think it matters. I mean, the whole thing about the Raiders and the Giants is they want to lose. They both have 2 wins, so the team that has the worst record is going to be the number 1 pick. So I don't think these 2 teams want to win. I mean, Jacksonville won for some reason on Sunday. Don't ask. So they have 3 wins, but now the Giants and Vegas both have 2 wins, which means they're fighting, I guess, Shakur Sanders. Does that make sense? Is the number 1 pick?
Or Cam Ward? Crazy? I'm hoping the Giants. Honestly, I would like the Giants to trade down. I got to be honest.
Let me write that down. I want the Giants to trade down. Got it. I'm quoting you on that later in the season. But I mean, that's another thing. I mean, if you were the Raiders, would you? I don't want to say lose on purpose, but would you kind of save some of your good players for next season? I mean, what's the strategy?
I don't know if you save some of your good players, but
they really don't have any good. They don't have any good players
other than Max Crosby. Who are you saving? Jacoby Myers has been great, but he's not a savable player.
Brock Bowers.
Bowers would be the one you save. I think that they are putting their best team on the field with my air quotes.
That's like a politician speaking. That's a politician. So Casey, let's talk waiver wire. You brought his name up last week. It's one of your first names you said, and he had a pretty good game last week, and he's still available on the waiver wires. Tank Bisbee of Jacksonville. Yep. I'm giving, we both liked him. I liked him before the season started, even as like a late round pick. But what's your thoughts on Tank? Do you think he deserves to be
I think he's the top waiver wire guy this week. I mean, he's averaging 5.4 yards per carry and at the top of the league in yards after contact per attempt. I mean, he's hard to bring down, and he's getting at least 50%, if not more. 19 touches, team high last week, got a touchdown. There's good matchups coming up. He's got the Jets at Las Vegas and then home against Tennessee. Those aren't ones that really scare you as a running back. And so if you're looking at the playoffs, I think you invest heavily in this guy.
I like it. Casey, who else do you like? I mean, you don't have to go running back. You can go receiver. You can go quarterback. But, we're deep into playoffs right now. A lot of them are second-round playoffs or fantasy leagues. Some of them are first-round starting this week. So it's a very important week when it comes to who you're starting and who you're not starting. It's funny. I got a note from somebody saying, I didn't start Jamar Chase this week. I wrote him back. I said, why wouldn't you start Jamar Chase? Who did you start in front of him? Well, I had Kupp. I had this guy. And the guy said, you never bench Jamar Chase. You never bench Barkley. You never bench Josh Allen. I know people that benched Josh Allen last week. How about that? Because they wanted to start Russell Wilson.
Hey, my first round of the playoffs in one of my leagues this week, I went against Josh Allen, Jamar Chase, and Jordan Addison. So tell me how well I did in that game.
How well did you do?
I think I lost by 70.
It would be great if you said I won. I still beat him.
I still beat him. Could you imagine the team I would have to have put on the field to even compete? I think wide receivers, Quentin Johnston is probably my top wide receiver this week.
I'll say it, and you can quote me. I just feel he's like the worst receiver in the league that starts. I mean, I just think he dropped so many passes and he fumbles the ball. I just think he's so hard to watch. And
he got 7 targets last week, made 5 catches, 48 yards, scored a touchdown. He did some tough contested catches. That's what he's kind of his body type, and
so bad.
And Herbert's looking for him. Like, you're looking for guys at this point who are starters and can contribute. Not looking for the gadget guy. Like, I love Jalen McMillan in Tampa Bay. I think he's a great third receiver
I like him too. University of Washington. I like him too. I like.
But
him
I
too.
don't. He'll get he could very well have 2 targets for 7 yards this
Yeah.
weekend. I want somebody who's out there for a majority of the snaps.
Yeah, I
And so
love
that's
Baker.
Quentin
Sterling
Johnson.
Shepard, Baker's throwing to a little more. I had him on my waiver wire list. In all seriousness, the only waiver wire things I'm doing this week is I'm doing defenses because I'm in these
And,
leagues with defense.
Quentin Johnston's playing Thursday night, so it fits your bill of you want
He
somebody to
does.
play in those. Yeah, the Chargers play isn't it the Chargers at the
I thought it was
uh,
this Rams. Was it
oh, it's
Rams San
Rams at
Francisco?
San Francisco. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I
That's what I
see
thought it
Los
was.
Angeles. I get him confused
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
No, he's Sunday at home against Tampa Bay. Another great
Oh, Baker's in town. Maybe
matchup.
I'll go to that game. Yeah, I like Baker Mayfield. Maybe I'll go to the game.
Yeah, you can see Baker and Justin Herbert play. That's 2 pretty exciting young quarterbacks. Are you
Yeah.
guys trusting Jordan Addison in the fantasy playoffs? Albert asks. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if anything was proven last week, it's that both Jefferson and Addison can be fantasy relevant at the same time. And Jefferson's still going to get a majority of the rolled over the top coverage, which allows Addison to run in single coverage or soft parts of the zone. So
Yeah, I mean,
I trust him. I mean, as much as he's been knocked over the years. Sam Darnold had 5 touchdown passes and over 300 yards last week.
5 touchdowns, game of his life.
I mean, no interception.
Bounce back games. He's been sucking lately.
He's figured it. It shows you that the right environment and the right culture and the right team can ruin a quarterback or make a quarterback good.
Right,
so
2
yes,
receivers too. If I had
Addison
those 2 guys,
at this point is at the high end of the wide receiver 2s, in my opinion.
I liked him beginning of the year. I liked him when he came out of college. I liked him. I like the kid. He won the best receiver award at University of Pittsburgh. Then he transferred to USC. This guy is the real deal. And, if Jefferson leaves for some reason or something, he'll be the number 1 for sure. But having those 2 on the team together, I mean, and Aaron Jones, no one talks about Minnesota. I think they only have 3 losses, Casey. Am I right? 3?
2, I thought.
2. They have 2 losses. I mean, no one talks about them. I mean, everybody talks about Detroit and Baltimore and all these other teams.
Yeah, I mean, how would you like to be? They have the second best record, tied with the Eagles in the NFC, but they're going to have to play in a wild card game because the best record is the team above them in the Detroit Lions, so they don't win their division.
Yeah. So we're done with bye weeks. So
yes,
I assume,
thank God.
I assume everybody has their quarterbacks, but I will mention somebody that's been on not fire, but very, very consistent the past 3-4 weeks is Aaron Rodgers. He's 18 points fantasy wise.
Yeah.
The past 2 weeks. I know you're not a fan, but I was telling you that whenever he counts him down, and if your quarterback is hurt,
and they're at Jacksonville this weekend, so it's not like it's a bad matchup.
And weather's not going to be a big factor like it will be like in certain other cities like Chicago. You got to remember when it's cold out there, people don't want to throw the ball; they want to run. And like in Pittsburgh and all those other places, it's when it gets colder, especially in December, you got to look where the matchups are and see what part of the country they are, because warmer weather or dome stadiums, that's the quarterback you want to start. It's not the ice bowls like in Cincinnati. Well, I would start Burrow, of course. I mean, Casey, Burrow, best quarterback in the league right now, yes or no?
Josh Allen has to be considered the best quarterback in the league right
fine.
now. But I'd put Burrow in that top 2 or 3. I'm not trusting any of the other guys over him other than maybe Josh Allen. The thing Burrow misses his legs. Allen, the only reason Allen takes it is because he can run.
Oh yeah, this guy, and I tell people this, they always forget, he wasn't in college. He was going to junior college. He sent his tapes, he emailed his tapes to everybody. No one wanted him. The only school that offered him a scholarship was Wyoming. He took it. He was drafted by the Bills. Now he's going to be the MVP of the league. I mean, it shows you that all these experts and all these scouts of all these big colleges don't know anything. I mean, they can't spot talent if they hit him on the face. So it just shows you.
It just shows you what a crapshoot it is. Like
it is, and also this guy never gave up. It's like, and he kept playing even though people say he wasn't good enough. He was in there. I mean, look at him now. He's going to be the highest paid quarterback, I'm sure, when his contract's ready. Casey, let's talk waiver wire. Who should I pick up this week in waiver wire?
Of the guys we haven't mentioned, I think Brandon Cooks is a solid pass catcher there in Dallas. And let's be honest, I mean, they're throwing the ball, they're putting it in the air.
Yeah.
I like him. I like Adam Thielen. He's not going to be flashy. He's a high floor guy. But 21 targets in the last 2 games, 43 fantasy points in the PPR in the last 2 games. And he has Dallas, Arizona, and Tampa Bay for the playoffs. And now's when the schedule they're playing makes a bigger impact on whether somebody's worth it. Because if you're in the playoffs, you want them to have the best matchups possible. The other guy who's interesting is Isaiah Davis, the running back for the Jets.
Yeah, tell me about him. I saw he's only like 3%.
It's entirely based on Breece Hall's health. Obviously, he missed last week, but he was 50-50 with Braylon Allen out of the backfield last week. And he earned 6 targets, the third most on the Jets. I think with Jacksonville up next week, if Breece Hall is still questionable, or they just decide because they're not making the playoffs, you talk about wanting to just prevent big injury for your best players, they just shut Breece Hall down. I think Isaiah Davis becomes really interesting as a running back in the playoffs for teams.
Yeah, but again, you got to see if Bryce Hall is playing on Sunday,
right,
or if he's not. He didn't play this Sunday, so I don't know if he's going to play. I have no idea his status. We won't know until probably Friday. Jameis Winston.
Love the guy, but man,
let me ask you a question for fantasy reasons, because this drives me crazy, because you're playing players because of their name value, not because how they're going to do fantasy wise. Like Patrick Mahomes, how many players would you start ahead of Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback position that you could pick off on waivers? Let's say, who do you start, Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes? Who do you start?
Russell Wilson.
See, Jalen Daniels or Russell Wilson. Jalen Daniels or Patrick Mahomes.
Well, Jaden Daniels isn't on the waiver wire, but yeah, I'd start Jaden Daniels. Yeah. Although Pittsburgh's at Philadelphia, which is a tough game, and Kansas City's at Cleveland. So it would be weather dependent, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, I guess. Bryce Hall. There's all these Bryces. Bryce Young. I know I would never start him, but I'm just telling everybody he looks a lot better ever since he came off.
Yeah, and he's got Dallas coming up, who, as we've seen, you can score on.
Our cover guy I want to ask you about. Actually,
what a great name.
Sincere McCormick. Isn't your son named Sincere?
No. Okay, he's named Genuine.
I thought it was Sincere. So Sincere McCormick, he's owned in 16% of the leagues in Yahoo. He plays for the Raiders, if you guys don't know. What's your take on him? Is it somebody you want to pick up this week? Would you ever start this guy?
Would I ever start him? Well, yeah. If I'm in a spot with big injuries, jam.
Big jam.
This guy was 2-time Conference USA Player of the Year at University of Texas San Antonio. 4,000 yards in 3 seasons. So it's not like he.
No. I'm not saying he's. He's somebody that fell under the radar.
Yeah, and he's on. He was on the field.
His skill set. I watched him play. He looked good.
Yeah, he was on the field for over 60% of the plays, even with Madison healthy last week. So, I read Antonio Pierce has said in an interview that he promised that you'd see a lot of McCormick going forward. So, volume is key, right? Like if you want somebody on your roster, it's somebody who is going to get playing time. Now, another guy is Patrick Taylor Jr. in San Francisco. Of course, Isaac Guerrero got hurt last week and had to exit the game because every running back the Niners throw out there does.
Yeah, I'm about to suit up. So yeah,
he's next in line, and so he scored a touchdown late. Guerrero said afterwards that his foot issue wasn't that severe, but who knows? It's your foot. Anything can happen.
Well, rookies that are third string are not going to say they're hurt. They want to play. He wants to be on the roster next year, so he's not going to say he's hurt because it's not a good idea. The 49ers season's over anyway. Does it really matter?
Can they not make the playoffs?
Juwan Jennings for next year. Is Juwan Jennings the number 1 receiver for the 49ers next year, or Ayuk's going to be
If Ayuk's back, he's still the number one.
Okay.
If but I think he seems to have the best rapport with
Brock Montana.
Brock Montana. I mean, look, maybe
Yeah.
I mean your boy Ayuk might be a better receiver, but Juwan Jennings might be better suited for that offense because, like, I don't remember Ayuk having this many big games when he was in that role for San Francisco. So, I mean, maybe Ayuk needs a change of scenery. He certainly lobbied to be traded and then signed a big contract last year. But it seems Juwan Jennings is doing better than Brandon Ayuk with the same role. Cap for Life says, gentlemen, 2 league, both playoffs bound, baby. Good. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's great news. If you make, like I say this every year, if you made the playoffs, it's a successful season, regardless of how anything goes, because this season, and I say this every year, but it feels like there were more significant injuries this year than any prior year. And so if you were able to weather that and use the waiver wire smart and make some good trades and make the playoffs, the rest of the season is gravy. So, and he says, do you think I have a chance? Darnold, Achane, Jacobs, Josh Jacobs, JSN, Devonta Smith, Trey McBride. Yeah, you have a chance. I mean, all of those, with the exception of Devonta Smith.
Who does Minnesota play this week?
Minnesota.
Just because
plays
Donald
at home against Chicago. So that's definitely a good game for him.
They'll be throwing the ball. They'll be chucking the ball. It's a good start. I mean, the thing about Donald is this. I don't see him having 2 huge games in a row. Do you? I mean,
no, but he just pointed out that he's on a bye this week because he's the number 1 seed. So I'm hoping Darnold saves his big week for week 17. Who do they play in week 17? Hold on. I mean, in week 16. Minnesota plays at Seattle. So that's not a bad game for him either.
So they play Seattle?
Okay? Yeah,
Seattle's defense is stepping it up.
They're sneaky, but still, it's not an unbeatable one.
No. We'll talk about next week's games and then we'll get out of here. Or this week's games, excuse me, because it's so important in fantasy wise.
Okay, he has a question. Wait, one quick question for Cap for Life. He has Bo Nix also. Who would you rather have, Bo Nix or Sam Darnold riding it out?
Was this for week 17, right?
Week 16. Okay. Denver plays. They play. Why can't I find it?
I don't love the Seattle matchup. I think Seattle's. I think they're in first place now. Are they tied with Arizona? Is that right? Am I right?
They play Thursday at the Chargers.
Denver, I don't like Bo Nix at the Chargers. The Chargers defense is really good. Those guys like to hit and they blitz that quarterback. So stay away from the Chargers D.
Here's a question for you, Jay Freezy. Welcome to the show, bud. I have Herbert at quarterback. If Ladd is out again, should I still go with him or go pick up Drake May, Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, or CJ Stroud? That's a tough question.
I'll tell you who I like, and I'll just say it. And I know the season's been disappointing this year, but I just feel he's had a bye week. He's back this week. I think he's a lot healthier. I think it's a health issue with him.
Going with CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud. They play. Who they play?
Miami at home against Miami.
Teams Monday night. Yeah, they're at home in Houston, or they're at Miami.
In Houston.
They're in Houston.
I really like. I mean,
I'll take Stroud. I'm just going to say.
If I'm not sticking with Herbert, I might go Aaron Rodgers at Jacksonville. That just seems like a cush matchup. The only consideration there is the game script because it's Jacksonville. Jacksonville doesn't have a quarterback, doesn't score a lot of points. They might run the ball a lot, but I think Aaron Rodgers likes to pass too much. So, and he calls his own plays. He reminds me of the game, The Replacements with Keanu Reeves. Remember when the starting quarterback came back and said, "I don't care. That's not the way I play," or whatever. Yeah. He calls his own plays on the field. That's what Aaron Rodgers reminds me of. So I would probably still still stick with Herbert at home against Tampa Bay. That's just a cushy matchup. But
the defensive backs for Tampa Bay are very, very young and not that experienced.
If I wasn't going with Herbert, I'd probably go Aaron Rodgers.
Like Aaron, okay. Well, I like C.J. Stroud just because he had a week off and
he has another week's rest for Nico Collins. Oh no, I don't disagree with you that it could be good, but he hasn't done it enough.
Defense,
in the playoffs. In the playoffs, I don't want to invest on I think this is the week he comes back.
I know. But you got to spin the wheel.
If it was regular season, you can take that chance. In the playoffs, I don't think you can. Whereas I think Herbert against Tampa Bay is safer.
Let's talk this week. Thursday night, you mentioned it. San Francisco is playing the Lambs.
The Rams.
No, I can call them the Rams just because they beat Buffalo.
How good is Puka Nacua, by the way?
Can I tell you something? How good is Puka and Kupp? I mean, both those guys together.
I know.
I mean, that combination, Higgins and Chase. I mean, all those guys. It's like the combinations are great.
I guess now you can put Jefferson and
Addison.
Yeah,
you're right, and you could put Scheinfeld and you could put Ratner together like that too, like back in college when you guys played 2-on-2 basketball.
We dominated.
You guys were unbelievable. So, I mean, I think that game, Taycee's going to be high scoring. I think Stafford's going to have big stats against the 49ers' weak defense. They're not that good. I know they beat Chicago really bad. I get it. But I don't see the Rams beat the 49ers already once. I think they'll beat them again. And I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I think anybody you can grab from the Rams, the major players that we mentioned, Stafford, Kupp, Puka,
Kyron Williams, even Blake Corum at this point.
Yeah, so all those guys. And, of course, on the 49ers, I don't really like anybody. Maybe Kittle, maybe.
Well, Juwan Jennings, you have to like at this point.
Juwan Jennings, I like. I guess you're right. But I'm not a huge fan of the 49ers right now. I think they're too banged up. And
I think Brock Montana could have a good game.
They can't protect him, but we'll see what happens. So let's talk about Sunday the 15th, Casey, middle of the month. Christmas is coming up, 10 days away on the 15th.
I know.
Cowboys are at the Panthers. That says points all over it. That's going to be a high-scoring throw the ball around like crazy.
CeeDee Lamb obviously is a play there.
That Dowdy, the running back,
Rico Dowdle is a play.
Dowdle looked good. And then Kansas City's at Cleveland. That game,
that could be ugly.
I just feel it's gonna be low scoring. I don't know. I don't know who I would take on that. I probably would stay away.
I mean, the predicted highest scoring game of the week with an over under of 53.5 is Buffalo at Detroit.
We'll get there. Miami's at Houston. We talked about it. I think Hill's going to have a big game, of course. I think Waddle's a good start. In Houston, you got to start Nico Collins, and you got to start Mixon. Those are the must starts. The Commanders are at New Orleans. That says to me, I think the Commanders are going to beat them bad just because New Orleans is.
Yeah, that's a Brian Robinson game, if you ask me.
Yeah, then they're not going to be scoring many points. The Saints with their second-string quarterback playing. I mean, I didn't even know who it is. It's not Spencer Rattner. Spencer Rattner's hurt, so I don't know who they're starting. The Jets, Jaguars, Warfest, stay away. Baltimore Giants. Do you think Baltimore is going to just destroy the Giants, or do you think it'll be close?
I think Derrick Henry could have 350 yards.
Okay, well, these are all obvious who you start. I don't think Drew Lock's going to have a big game either. He looked horrible last week. The Colts are at Denver. I think that's going to be the closest game out of any of them. I think that's going to be a good game to watch. The next game, Buffalo and the Lions, Casey. You just take the usual guys, right?
Take everybody. Yeah. I think you want anybody who's a piece of that offense that gets regular volume, you want him.
The Chargers are at Tampa. I think you're right. I think Herbert's going to be a huge game against Tampa.
I think Herbert's going to have a good game. I don't know who's going to run the ball for him. Maybe Gus Edwards. But
Gus will run, and they also have Vidal.
Is J.K. Dobbins healthy? I don't think so.
He's not coming back anyway. He's not coming back. The Patriots are at Arizona, probably the least watched game of the week.
Nah, Giants. Well, no, the Ravens fans will watch the Giants game.
Yeah, I know.
Las Vegas,
Patriots,
Atlanta might not be a very watched game.
No, and then the night game is the Packers in Seattle. I think Jordan Love's going to have a good game against Seattle. I think.
Yeah, I think you have to run JSN out there, and you have to run.
Yeah.
I mean, Geno Smith throws the ball as much as anybody, so I'd play him if I had him.
And then 2 Monday night games, KC Scheinfeld, 2, which is, well, I guess the networks have a plan, but I don't know what it is. The Bears are playing Minnesota.
At Minnesota. I'll play all my Minnesota guys. I'm not playing anybody in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe DJ Moore because you have to, because you drafted him as a 1.
Maybe, yeah. Keenan Allen's banged up. If he was healthy, I would probably start. He's not 100%. You can tell. And the game that you're excited for, which I'm sure you'll be watching, is Atlanta.
I was hoping to go to it, but I couldn't make it out to
Atlanta
Vegas.
and Vegas, both disappointing teams. Kirk Cousins, in all seriousness, Kirk Cousins has been dreadful the past few weeks.
Yeah, how good does Minnesota look right now for saying, nah, we're not going to give you a big contract anymore. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, they signed Donald for like $1. And
do you think Michael Penix is going to finish out the season?
You know, I mean, I would have him finish it out. Wouldn't you? What's the point of playing Cousins?
I don't know.
I mean, you're paying him a lot of money.
Well, because they're still in first place, I think, or tied for first in the division. That's how bad that division is. So, I mean, Cousins, when playing well, still gives you the best chance to.
I feel if Cousins has a bad first half against Vegas, I think they'll pull him and put Penix in. How about that prediction?
Yeah, if he can't score against Vegas, then you know something.
Yeah, if he's throwing interceptions, he's been throwing a lot of. I mean, he's been horrible. I mean, it's dreadful. I mean, if you want to make a bet in Vegas, bet the interception that Cousins will throw against Vegas, which he will.
Cowboys or Eagles defense going forward?
Well, let's look at the schedule.
All right. Well, the Eagles this week play Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys play Carolina, so that's a better matchup for the Cowboys.
Of course.
Week 16, it is the let's see, where's Philadelphia's at Washington.
Yeah.
And
I don't love that.
No, that's not a great one.
Saturday games. I'll just say it now. I mean, Eagles defense is
Tampa at Dallas.
Forget the schedule. I don't care. I don't care about the schedule. I moved on. So I think the Eagles defense is playing a lot better right now. They're healthy.
Their pass rush, yeah.
They have something to play for. And if you watch the Cowboys game yesterday, you see who walked off the field all frustrated before the game was even ended.
Micah Parsons. Yeah, I know.
I mean, he walked off he was crying. I mean, it's like he lost the Super Bowl.
I would go with Philadelphia too, because then the Cowboys play at Philadelphia, and who are you going to want in that one? You're certainly not going to want defense. So the only one
that's hurt, I love Blankenship for the Eagles. I know he didn't play last week.
And Brandon Graham's hurt too.
I love him too, but I just feel the Eagles are playing a lot better, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, the Eagles, the Cowboys defense is trash. I mean, look what happened last night. I mean, they gave up so many. I mean, Burrow had over 300 yards. He should have been 400. He had a lot of drop passes from his receivers.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. With Case, we'll be back on Thursday with Dr. Dan Ratner. When he's just
getting you ready for the weekend. He's
finishing his book, folks. It's all about fantasy football. It's going to be great. He tells you how to win, how to win your league. Doesn't matter if it's PPR or not. He knows what he's doing. So he'll be running the show on Thursday. So have your questions ready, and then I'll see you, Casey. I think next Tuesday. I'm not going to be here Thursday. So there you go.
I won't be here Thursday, but I'll be here in spirit. Yep, I'll see you all next Tuesday.
There you go. Thanks for watching.
All right. Take care.